Earlier this year, I wrote and published my debut novel, Starlight Farm's Kennel for Talking Dogs. And I even made a 4-part series on the entire process of writing this book, from the very first idea and planning the story and the writing process and editing and even publishing. If you've ever wondered how to write a book, just watch this series. You can check it out in the playlist link below, and while you're at it, check out the book. It's a cozy fantasy full of magic and talking dogs, guaranteed to make you tear up. Happy tears, I promise. Let's get to the good stuff. Look, there were a few major things that I learned in writing this book, and these lessons that I learned will help you write yours 100%. Let's start with how you know when a story idea is worth writing. It is always easier to write when you're inspired to write. Wow, who would have guessed? When you lose your motivation, your inspiration, writing becomes more of a chore, of a job. At least it does if you even still want to finish and publish your book. The first major lessons that I learned in writing the story was that the finish line is always in sight. And that's motivation and inspiration in itself. There have been times in the past where I started writing a story and I got 10 or 15,000 words in, and then life got in the way. It happens to the best of us. And unless you somehow reignite that inspiration that got you writing in the first place, it's pretty unlikely that you'll return to writing that book. More likely, something else is going to grab your attention, a shiny new idea for a story, and you're going to go off and try to write that. Fess up. How many stories do you have sitting around halfway finished? Post it below. The lesson that I learned here is that you have to make your own inspiration, and that can come from a few different places. I've found that reading writing books, always weird to say reading writing books, gets me inspired to write, no matter the project. In fact, I use writing books, you can see the videos on my channel, to always give me a little boost of motivation to keep me writing. It's like a shot of caffeine when you're getting tired. Another place where I got motivation was simply picturing what it would feel like to have this story written and completed and in my hands. That feeling of having accomplished something hard, having put in the work and created something totally unique. I'd lay in bed at night and I'd think of how proud that I will have felt to hold this book in my hands. And you know what? I nailed it. I did feel really proud when having finished this book and sharing it with the world. I'm not making any bestseller lists. I'm just a dude writing books because he loves writing and creating stories and he wants to share them. And picturing that moment of being able to tell people that I wrote a book and where to find it, and the idea that they would even want to check it out motivated me through some hard times to keep writing this book. Now, all of those motivations are kind of surface level. It's the same thing as sort of like topping off a leaking bucket, right? It refills the motivation, it reignites that spark of inspiration, but it still drains away as time goes. And that's normal. That's totally normal. The absolute best way that I found to get excited and motivated about writing was through getting invested in my own story and characters. Once my proto draft reached the halfway mark, check out the proto draft video here, I was really starting to understand and believe in my characters. And that made coming back to my proto draft day after day so much easier because I wanted to help these characters grow. If you can find that kind of motivation, you'll never stop writing. It's like a feedback loop, right? You write and you get invested in your world and your characters, and that makes you want to write some more. And if you can push through writing your first proto draft, then I think most people will experience that level of motivation. You can do it. The only thing stopping you is you. If you want some help in writing your story, if it's your first time writing something seriously, or if you've done this before and you just want to be better, come join us in the Discord and be surrounded by like-minded writers who want to create, who want to write. We share resources and tips, and we give feedback and critique to help you become a better writer. Join hundreds of writers on Discord using the link below. Even better, Starting on October 28th and all throughout November, you can join my live stream as we do our own Novella November, not affiliated with any larger organization. 5 days a week, 2 hours of writing with me, plus time to hang out and ask questions and share your writing and have fun. We're going 5 days a week all throughout November. And if you join me when you can, if you put in the dedication, you will have a book by the end of the month. The second major thing that I learned when writing my book was that you cannot sprint a marathon. Look, I'm a fast writer. I can pump out 3, 4, 5,000 words on a good day. And I've topped out writing 9,000 words in a single day. And when you're writing your proto draft, that word count can be really important. The quicker you can get your story down, that first iteration from beginning to end, the less chance there is that life is gonna hit you and knock you off your routine. And the only thing harder than writing a book is picking up where you left off weeks ago and then writing a book. But there's a time and place for that sort of sprinting. And writing a book is not a sprint. Writing a book is a marathon. It's a war of attrition. It's a siege between you and your motivation and the rate at which you can get your story down before life inevitably gets in the way. After you get your proto draft done, which is the first major milestone of writing a book, things change. And from that point on, word count and speed mean nothing. You've created the first iteration of your story, and now it's all about quality. The second stage of writing, following that proto draft, is about being able to analyze your work critically and see where it can be improved. It's about looking at each scene and story beat of your story and finding areas that need to be trimmed or extended or combined or flat out removed. It's a difficult process because it's you, the author, pointing out every single thing that you did poorly in your book. And that can actually be pretty demoralizing when you have to do it for 80,000 words. Another lesson that I learned during this process was to give equal attention to the passages and the scenes that I wrote that I really liked while I was marking up my manuscript for editing. No one talks about that, but I hope you keep that in mind. Carry a red pen and a green pen, if you know what I mean. The last and most impactful lesson that I learned about writing my book was this: you need to know when to be done. And this is especially important for the perfectionists out there in the world. Yeah, we all want to write a perfect book. And if you sit down to write 80,000 words and you don't want it to be a perfect book, you're lying. We want our work to be as strong and capable and beautiful and as impactful as it can be. But there is an element of diminishing returns. Once you've gone through and edited your proto draft into something close to that final state, it's really easy to keep tweaking it, to keep making little decisions and changes thinking that the book is almost there. But just like at some point in the beginning of this process, you had to decide that it was time to stop planning and to start writing, you also have to decide that it's time to stop writing and send the book out. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I'm not going to release this book until I have it exactly where I want. But I'm here to tell you that there is no big eureka moment when you make the last change and you leap out of your seat and you proclaim that the book is finished and there are no more edits to make. That just doesn't happen. When you look at your finished book, you probably aren't going to see a flawless masterpiece. You're gonna see the good in it, that's for sure. I mean, with this book, I see uplifting character arcs, and I see fun and emotional characters, and I see a lot of love. But there's still plenty in here that I know I could keep tweaking, and keep improving, and keep changing. But at some point, you have to be done. And that's not a bad thing. You're gonna take every single lesson that you learned, and every skill that you gained, and every trick of the trade that you discovered in writing this book, and your next one is going to be even better. It's inevitable. So don't be scared to move on to the next project and put yours out into the world. You'll be better for it. Don't sit and wait for perfection to come. I try to be open and honest with everyone here about writing. I glamorize it when I'm enamored by it, and I'm realistic about it when I'm demoralized by it. That's the transparency that you can expect from this channel. And the live streams all throughout the month of November, same transparency there. If you commit the time, if you come write with me, if you write on the days that I'm not streaming, and you ask questions and you ask for feedback on the days that I am streaming, then you can finish a proto draft in the upcoming month. And that feeling of holding your printed proto draft in your hand, I mean, it's really something. I hope you liked this video. Remember to come hang out in the Discord. It is a super positive place. We lift each other up to be better storytellers. There is a place for you there. Subscribe to this channel for more, and as always, thank you for watching.